Hello, everyone. It's Lisa Graves. I am here today for the 5.5 with Greg Olear for your midweek break. And you know the routine, 5 stories, 8 minutes each, and a chance to refuel. We slow things down to sip, reflect, and remember you are not alone. You are not alone. And also, I promise that we won't be doing any questionnaires today. We're back on topic. So Greg, welcome here. Nadine is away, but possibly not away.
Not away.
Yeah. How are you?
We're not going to do the. I had the Proust questionnaire for you this week.
Oh, really?
No, I did not. Okay. I did not.
All right, fair enough. But if ever, let me know. I'll prepare.
Okay. How was your week?
Well, the short weeks I consider to be the phrase blessing and curse, a blurse, because on the one hand, it's great to have a short week, and on the other hand, I feel like I'm racing to catch up with all the things I didn't do on Monday. But it's we're living in the chaos machine of Trump, and so every day is another round of ridiculousness or his minions, and just trying to figure out that how is it possible that it's mid-February, but we're still standing. We are still standing, and I feel like in some ways, despite the awfulness, I feel like we're gaining. So I'm going to knock on wood on that.
I'm going to join you in the wood knocking. Yeah, I think it's important.
How are you?
Well, I'm good. I wanted to tell you before, because this will lead into the first topic. So I wanted to. This isn't even a good story, really, but I and it's kind of a downer now that I'm thinking about it. Anyway, I went to the movies yesterday. Is my point. Okay, so I went to see Dracula, which I really enjoyed a lot.
You had me worried there because I thought maybe you went on an undercover operation to investigate Melania, the movie, and how empty the theaters really were. But no, you went to an actual movie.
Oh, that movie's long gone from the theaters. No, I went to a real movie, matinee. It was like at 3:30 in the afternoon, and it was playing in Poughkeepsie at the Galleria in the mall there, which is not a place I go to very often. And yeah, the movie was very good. If you like Dracula stuff, and that kind of thing, I enjoyed it a lot. They did a lot of fun little wrinkles with it, and it looks really cool and all that. So, but I'm in the mall, and I've not been inside a mall for more than 15 seconds in a long time, because I have one of those things. If I need to go to the mall and get something, I'm like, I basically make a map of where it is, and I'm in and out as fast as I can. Like they didn't, the extraction in Argo took like more time than me in a mall, But I forgot that I was in Poughkeepsie and not Kingston, so I parked in the wrong place and I had to walk through the mall. And this is the part that's sort of depressing, as all of this Epstein stuff is swirling around. And, and I have Epstein on the brain because I've been writing about it so much and reading about it and watching these stupid videos. I'm walking through the mall, and like everybody in the mall is like a teenage girl, pretty much. It's like me, and it feels weird, like I shouldn't be there.
You feel like you may have been the candidate for Senate from Alabama hanging out.
No, because I was allowed in the mall.
Oh, yes, right. He was banned.
Also,
right.
I do not speak Russian. Two critical differences between me and Roy Moore.
Yes.
No, but and then I realized, okay, not only and this is a pretty representative shopping mall where it's predominantly teenage girls in little gaggles going to do things without their parents around so much, and every third store in the mall is a store that's owned by Les Wexner.
No,
I mean, really, you got the Limited, you got Abercrombie, you got Victoria's Secret, you've got they're all. I mean, how many stores? So, as we continue to peel this onion and get to the bottom of it, it's like every shopping mall in the country, pretty much for decades, was this.
Wow.
It's predominantly the targets for their horrific recruitment efforts, and Les Wexner is involved, if only accidentally, as he claims today.
Wow.
So it just sort of hit me. I sort of saw it in a new way of wow, they really made this work for them too, didn't they?
Wow.
So
yeah, I mean, I haven't looked into that part as deeply as you have, I think, but just the surface of it is super disturbing. And like the whole super duper mansion in New York City, like there's so many components of it, but also just the Victoria's Secret, that was his that was, one of his main, and is, I guess, I don't know what the percentage of holdings is, but was his claim to fame. And then he's so closely connected, it seems, for a number of years with Epstein.
Well, now we know what Victoria's Secret is, don't we? We know what she's been hiding from us.
Of the secret in Trump's letter, Trump's the disputed card that was somehow in a bound book, but was purportedly not real because, Trump sued the Wall Street Journal, even though it's quite clear, in my personal opinion, that it's super real. But that whole reference to secrets is right there.
No, the Democrats knew back in 2003 that Trump would be running for president and this would be a problem. So they engineered to put it in this bound book from that time period just so they could try to get him. Come on, Lisa.
Yeah, it's crazy. It has a little bit of Back to the Future, Biff stealing the statistics book.
Biff is based on Donald Trump.
Yes, that is true. That is in fact true. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have topics.
We do.
I'm going to put the banner up. We're right there. You're right. We transitioned right in.
I'm taking notes from Nadine when, I'm trying to do Nadine proud here with the transitions. That's what we're trying to do.
Very good. Very good. So I helped, I was quoted in a story this weekend about how the Epstein files, among all sorts of terrible, awful, depraved revelations and just horrifying stuff involving Snow White and just really the stuff of nightmares. Also, a particular component of the nightmare is that there was Jeffrey Epstein weighing in, sort of rooting for Brett Kavanaugh to be confirmed, talking about, how the state prosecutor that the Republicans brought in was awful and how what could have been done to really pin, him in Christine Blasey Ford, no sympathy obviously for the victim, for the survivor who had the courage to testify against Brett Kavanaugh, but instead just a sexual predator paying close attention to another man accused of being a sexual predator with evidence, compelling evidence that she presented and that he denied. And then in the midst of it all, there's Ken Starr, who, became very famous for his role in the Starr Report, which was really written in significant part of the most prurient parts by Brett Kavanaugh. And Ken Starr corresponding with Jeffrey Epstein. And I'm going to write about this particular component because one of the things that people didn't realize, wasn't known because Julie Brown's fantastic reporting at the Miami Herald had not really come through yet. She was in the midst of that investigation of uncloaking what happened with Alex Acosta's horrible, totally immoral deal with Epstein. Was that Ken Starr was Epstein's lawyer, along with a couple of other very bold-faced names. But Ken Starr was the main lawyer helping Epstein get away from those charges, where there were, over like in the initial set, over a dozen girls who had been part of his scheme to abuse them, to rape them, to be a sexual predator with them, recruited by Ghislaine. And it was Ken Starr who helped negotiate that outrageous deal. And then what happened, like fast forward, I'll skip over some other Ken Starr stuff, but fast forward to Kavanaugh's nomination, Kavanaugh as one of Ken Starr's acolytes. There you have in the Epstein files at the same month that Ken Starr is on the news as this supposed moral guy, which he wasn't, but this, supposed moral icon, attesting to Brett Kavanaugh's character, saying he has an impeccable record, going on CNN and doing all the shows. There's Ken Starr, and then behind the scenes in the Epstein files is Ken Starr corresponding with Epstein's folks, saying that he got a query from Julie Brown, and what should he say? Tell her that Jeffrey Epstein is a trusted friend. So the same guy who's out there saying you can trust Brett Kavanaugh, behind the scenes is saying Jeffrey Epstein is my friend and he's a trusted friend. Wow.
Oh, we could do some math there, some geometry thing, the transitive property then.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
then
I mean,
Epstein is a trusted friend, so
yeah, I mean, the fact is that you know, it's not, and then there's a revelation that I had missed along the way, which was that at a certain point, Ken Starr had a sexual affair with someone who had previously worked for him. This woman says that she had been berated by none other than Brett Kavanaugh, like verbally attacked, like just aggressively assaulted, the most aggressive verbal assault. Basically, she said she'd ever experienced. She had told Ken Starr about it. When Brett Kavanaugh was nominated, she reached out to him to try to say, will you speak up against him about this? And notwithstanding that, Ken Starr went on and said he's always behaved impeccably toward women. Of course, that's what, that's the claim. But you have this, the idea of this sexual predator paying such close attention to someone who I consider to be a sexual predator, getting on the Supreme Court, being aided by the prosecutor who sought to impeach President Clinton for lying, but also for his sexual relationships. There was so much hypocrisy happening back then. And also like having an affair, having sex with an intern, a young woman, like it was awful in all sorts of ways, awful. And yet Ken Starr told his paramour that he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and that Jeffrey Epstein just had got ensnared in a solicitation charge, soliciting sex with girls who he thought were women. That was the lie that she says that Ken Starr told her about Epstein. But he knew exactly what the evidence was against Jeffrey Epstein, and it was not accidentally meeting a girl at a bar who he thought was of age. It was actively recruiting children for rape, basically.
Yeah.
And yet, knowing all of that, Ken Starr was willing to say to a reporter in the same month that Kavanaugh got confirmed that Jeffrey Epstein was his trusted friend. So gross. Yeah. Anyway,
is Ken
add into the knowledge base.
No, I like all of this, and I don't know much about Ken Starr other than I think just because he's even in the universe of all the Epstein people, he's repellent to me. Is he still alive, or is that?
No, he passed away. He passed away, and I wrote about him in my book because
I
met him when I was working in a law firm, and he was, very much a politician. He had this wall that does not compare at all with obviously the Epstein files, but I used to call it the wall of horror, not imagining the horrors to come. But it was him with Bork and him with Nixon and him with all the sort of right wing jerks. And I, worked with him for a summer, with Ken Starr for a summer, but I had no idea. I didn't realize that he was so involved in defending Epstein on the very charges that were the heart of that initial plea deal, and then there were the charges that he was again arrested on in 2019, and that Ken Starr was so morally bankrupt that he would consider such a sexual predator his trusted friend, and he was vouching for America that they could trust Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah, the hypocrisy is off the charts. I don't even know anymore. I would say the whole idea of Brett Kavanaugh berating a woman really badly flies in the face of everything that I know about Brett Kavanaugh, except not at all. It's of course he did that. Right. Does he ever not do that? Like
well, I mean, that testimony, right after she testifies and he comes in looking like he's had a few, and he's screaming and yelling and attacking and saying what goes around comes around and everything else. Yeah.
I would not want him to be my basketball coach. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I have a list that I prepared of Epstein stuff that happened like just this week, just to clock it. We don't have time to talk about all of it. Trump has mentioned like over 1 million times in the Epstein files, which is important. Ted Lieu today said in the files, Trump raping children. He actually said the words.
Wow.
There's a lot of stuff coming up about Howard Lutnick, and one of those creepy masks in the dental office looks a lot like Howard Lutnick. And there's a lot of Cantor Fitzgerald money laundering Russian mob fuckery going on. And his wife is in there with Ghislaine, and he's in there with Sarah Ferguson. And these people have known each other a good long time. And oh yeah, by the way, he bought his place for $10 from Wexner.
That needs further investigation.
Yeah, I think it does. I think a lot of things about him need further investigation.
A lot does, but
Iran is threatening to release the files if they're attacked, which, dude, release them now and then you won't get attacked. Do I have to do all the thinking for you, Ayatollah? Come on. And, the UN, I think it was, suggested that the Epstein stuff is crimes against humanity. Amber Woods just put out a report about all the fiber optic cable and tech stuff that was going on between Little St. James and Great St. James, which is the larger island that he also owned that nobody ever talks about because God knows what's happening there.
Yeah.
And the Zorro Ranch, which New Mexico is going to go investigate. The people that ran the ranch for years, the couple, fled. You know this. They're gone. They've gone to ground. They fled like 2 years ago.
Wow.
Epstein's arrested. We're out of here. Get the burn bag. And we don't know where they are. We haven't heard from them since.
Wow.
So, as innocent people do, who don't know anything, they immediately flee. So
fled the scene.
Just a lot of things. But I feel like I don't know if the dam is ever going to burst, but we're certainly giving it a lot of wax with the old hammer and nail,
Yeah. It is. I mean, and Bondi's testimony last week, I mean, it is technically testimony, but it was just so outrageous and outlandish. And I think we talked about this last time, but I can't remember now, but it was like, she couldn't even do the most human thing of turning around and apologizing for the mistakes, the mistakes the department made in carefully redacting the abusers, but, not being so careful with the names and details of the actual survivors. And she also couldn't do not the human thing, but the self-preservation thing of just doing it anyway, just turning around anyway. She just could not do it. And it was, it like I've heard, I've researched her, over the years and, had seen the descriptions of how she did nothing to deal with Trump University, not a thing, despite many complaints about what a ripoff that was. And that she, managed to inject herself into that first impeachment trial. She wanted to get ahead, get a position, get a post. Sorry, that was not intended to be a double entendre in any way. But honestly, but then it's just fraught, and she also was one of the people who showed up for, one of, Trump's trials. Like she is fully committed to this lying, cheating, rapey, despite his denials, guy, and will do anything for him, say anything for him. And you were 100%, we did talk about this briefly, because you were 100% right that the Dow at 50,000 is the line that really kind of just managed to blow through all the other stuff from that hearing. Was like, we should be talking about that, not the biggest sex abuse scandal, in U.S. history involving these super powerful people, not the women who are here clamoring for justice, not the cover up that the Justice Department is engaged in. The Dow is at 50. That is just the other component of the moral depravity of Pam Bondi.
Right. Yeah. No, she's not even a good lawyer, because a good lawyer would be able to take the opposite side and play nice with these people, even if she doesn't believe it. It's just, just horrible. If we ever do get law and order reestablished in this country, she is almost certainly going to be in prison. I mean, I think if I had to do betting odds on the people who will actually serve time, which I keep thinking in this way, and nobody ever serves time, so don't listen to me about this at all. But she would be very high in my list of likely people to see the slammer.
Well, I just think that we have got to revisit the whole notion that a president could ever pardon his co-conspirator. Like, can I say fuck that? Fuck that. no way, this should not be allowed. I will work to try to make sure that that is not permitted, and that anyone who, even if you can't charge him due to John Roberts' counter-constitutional, outrageous, ridiculous immunity edict, he should not be able to pardon his co-conspirators in this. And then, I mean, there's so many lies. There are big lies, small lies, tons of lies. The idea that she would even use her words to say Ghislaine Maxwell wasn't transferred to an easier prison, like everything is a lie.
Oh, no, that isn't a lie, because the real Ghislaine Maxwell isn't in the prison. She's like, God. It's like another person.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I think, I don't know. There is this, the picture don't look like her very much. So there's people are talking, people are saying, and at this point, I have no idea. Barack Obama did tell us that the aliens were real, by the way, this week. So,
wait, really? Did that happen?
Oh, yeah.
I
think he was kidding, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay. So, yeah, no, he did.
All right. Well, speaking of conspiracy theories of some sort, regardless of kind of, I am with Carl Sagan in the millions and millions and millions of galaxies. Surely there is other life. I just don't know whether they'd be interested in what's happening over here, given the dumpster fire that
really, if you could go anywhere in the universe, why the fuck would you be here right now?
There's got to be some other vacation spot.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of conspiracy theories, we now have actual evidence, that the warrant that was used to raid Fulton County and take out, pallets of ballots, break the chain of custody, get those ballots in the hands of this administration, despite the fact that they were hand counted, 5 million ballots, hand counted, audited, and at each turn, the conspiracy theories about the 2020 election and Fulton County have been debunked. But now we know, because the warrant was released, that in fact it was not based is the wrong word. It was, based on technically, but not based on any actual evidence, based on a report put together by conspiracy theorists who have been repeatedly debunked, including one of the big conspiracy theorists, one of the big election deniers, who in the midst of litigation by election workers who were defamed and actually won their defamation suit, but election workers who were defamed involving the Gateway Pundit, which was the site that was promoting some of these or sharing some of these conspiracy theories. Gateway Pundit said that one of the main guys involved in the report that became the basis, the quote basis of the warrant, Kevin Munkla, was completely untrustworthy. Wouldn't trust a thing he said. He used curse words when he said it. I'm not going to curse again. I'm going to try not to. But basically, we now have the president of the United States directing a criminal investigation, or ordering it, or urging it, based on conspiracy theory nonsense by debunked conspiracy theorists that then did not have the involvement of the actual U.S. attorney in the Northern District of Georgia. They brought in a ringer from Missouri to be the lawyer. The FBI, head of the FBI in Georgia, did not participate in the execution of this search warrant. But Tulsi Gabbard, someone who never should have been entrusted with the role of being the director of national intelligence, whose job is to oversee the spy agencies, was there. And her apparent role was to call Trump and get him on the phone on a conference call to cheerlead to the agents who participated in what was a technically warranted, meaning had a warrant, but actually warrantless, meaning there really should not have been a warrant, raid of these ballots, which is about 2020, but it's really about a trial balloon for 2026 and efforts to seize ballots for elections that Donald Trump didn't win. And let's be clear, Donald Trump was going to lose Atlanta. Like, he lost Atlanta by 11,000 votes. Fulton County is the place with the biggest population in Georgia. He lost. The Republican Secretary of State said he lost. The audit said he lost. The election board review said he lost. The hand count lost. But in Donald Trump's mind, in that, is this the size of it? I don't really know. But in his mind, he is just the biggest loser ever. cannot accept that he lost. And every other person on that ballot, senators, there were subsequently 2 U.S. senatorial races, but U.S. state senators, state reps, everyone else, all their ballots counted and somehow were fine. But for some reason, just Donald Trump's ballot, or the part that related to Donald Trump, is somehow invalid and fraudulent. And, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that we would actually have the criminal law used in pursuit of conspiracy theories and executed in that way. Now, we've seen in DC in the past a week or so where a grand jury refused to indict the 6 members of Congress who stated out loud what is the law, which is that our soldiers are not allowed to violate the law, that they cannot follow an illegal order, that they have a duty to the Constitution. And that's what every service member is taught at the academies. That's what is the law of the land under the Geneva Conventions that the United States signed and spearheaded. That is the law coming out of Nuremberg. Just following orders is not a defense. And yet this administration with Jeanine Pirro, the second person Trump wanted to lead the DC U.S. Attorney's Office, sought to actually indict these members of Congress for sedition, which is ridiculous. And the only one in this whole scenario who's been involved in sedition is Donald Trump for his actions around January 6th. But in that case, this wasn't a search warrant issued by a magistrate judge based on a spun up set of claims where the warrant didn't even reveal the fact that the people attesting to these so-called theories had been debunked. This was a grand jury, and the grand jury said no. And that the District of Columbia grand jury also said no to indicting the guy for throwing the sandwich. And the Northern District of Virginia U.S. Grand jury said no to, other charges, again, political charges by Trump. But this was sort of an end run around that. And we haven't prevailed all the time, because in Minnesota, Don Lemon was arrested for engaging in journalism along with another reporter from Minnesota. And he's about to go to trial on these literally trumped up charges. So, but Fulton County, there's going to be a hearing at the end of the month on the civil case brought by Fulton County against this search warrant. And we'll see what happens next. But that's that's what's been on my mind about Fulton County. What are your thoughts, Greg?
No, I'm glad you shared that. I want to get back to this word conspiracy theory and reclaim it for normal people.
Okay.
Because I feel like right now, as the Epstein material is coming out, we know that there were conspiracies, and a lot of them. This is a factual thing that happened. And in order to try to figure out what happened, we have to have theories in which we speculate as to what happened. And those are literally conspiracy theories. There are theories about the conspiracy that Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump and all these rich assholes had. So what's happening in Georgia and Fulton County is not a conspiracy theory. It is Trump fan fiction. That's what it is.
Much better. Much better.
Never, ever anything other than bullshit. And, so I feel like that term, I feel like we need to reappropriate the term for good and not say that it's fan fiction. It's right now, if you're not engaging in theories about conspiracies, you're not fucking paying attention. Basically.
Now let me just affirm that. I think fan fiction definitely is the better way to put it. And I didn't mean to cast aspersions on good.
I know.
Good conspiracy theories. But given the previous topic we were discussing, that this whole notion of QAnon claiming that there's a cabal or secret society, predating, acting as predators on children, and blaming Democrats and the Comet Pizza joint in DC, which does not have a basement, never involved, just completely made up nonsense. That is fiction. And yet the fiction is happening alongside a scenario in which people like Steve Bannon, one of Trump's closest advisors, and at the time Steve Bannon was indeed one of his closest advisors, is hanging out, talking strategy with none other than Jeffrey Epstein, and in which there are now credible reports coming out of the Epstein files of killing people as part of either ritualized activity on, around Epstein. not just snuff films, but like ritualized murder is part of what is being partially revealed by these files. And even Todd Blanche, who has acted as Trump's defense attorney before he became deputy attorney general and now is paid by us to basically, in my view, do the same. When he announced that this was the last of the Epstein files, said they had, of course, removed any actual evidence or photographic evidence of people being hurt or killed. Like, so they removed evidence of people being killed as part of the actual reality, and not the conspiracy or the claims being made by the Q folks, which was directed at their enemies.
Yeah. It's coming back to bite them in the ass now. I don't know.
Hey, Dan Bongino, all like the people who were like, we're going to release these. We're going to release these. And then all of a sudden they're like, wait, no, Trump's in here a lot. And
he's like, I quit. I don't want to work at the FBI anymore. It's easier to just spew bullshit on a podcast. It's pretty ridiculous. And I don't know if you noticed, but our special guest is in the green room.
Yes.
Did you see?
Yes. So I know I alluded to the possibility of who this could be, but in fact, I always try to tell you the truth. In fact, it is the amazing, the wonderful Nadine Smith.
Hello.
Hey, Nadine.
I am in a soundproof booth at LAX.
It is good to see you.
Yes, it's good to see you. I actually feel like I'm in some sort of witness protection, like my voice should be distorted and you should only be hearing me or seeing me in silhouette or something like that.
Witness protection at Olear.
That's right. Well, and the segue, spewing BS on podcasts. Hey, our next guest.
No, but you are amazing, and did we post in the chat your column about Trump's spewing of racist nonsense?
Oh yes.
Yeah, we should put that in. I'll put while you all chat. I'm gonna put that while you two catch up. I'm gonna put that in the comments.
What a time!
Isn't it pouring rain there? Is it still pouring rain there?
It doesn't rain in California.
Of course.
But boy, I warn you, it pours.
Yeah.
But look at me. I have a beverage. I mean, I know it's not, we're not there yet. It's not half full, but I'm often scrambling when we get to that part of the show to have a beverage to toast with.
That's good.
A few times I've just lifted up my hand and hope nobody noticed.
I think imaginary beverage is fine. So what's going on? What's on your mind? What do you want to sound off about? Because you haven't been on to sound off about things in a couple weeks. So I know. We want to hear from you.
I feel as though we are using the wrong analogy for Trump these days. Like we invoke the 1930s and Hitler and Mussolini but I think that we should be talking about Caligula. I think we should be talking about a level of depravity that people are having a hard time even wrapping our minds around. And as we are in this constant drip of new data coming out of each group of files, I like to think that within the redaction team there are people trying to get the truth out, like the ones that are redacted with one line or redacted in one place and not in another. But I don't know that we should ascribe to decency what just may be laziness. but the picture that emerges is so chilling. The Snow White outfits.
Yeah.
The orders of acid by both Bannon and Epstein. An evil so monumental that we've my fear is that we are being slowly normalized to us. I mean, remember, we live in a time when Hillary Clinton kind of stumbled slightly getting out of a car, and it spawned she's dying, she's got cancer, she's got minutes left to live, and they're covering it up. And it doesn't matter how many million times Trump shows up in this, no matter how disturbing the information, it is there's a way that the media coverage of it continues to normalize. And I'm reminded of something in Howard Zinn's People's History. Mm-hmm. He talks about how that the worst things that happen in censorship is not the complete absence, for example, of the discussion of slavery. He said that would be too obvious. It'd be too obvious that you're hiding information from people. But what you do is you include it, but just glancingly, as though, yeah, it was a thing, but it's in the past and it wasn't that big a deal. And I feel like that is the model that the media is currently using, of sort of like, yeah, this happened, a little bit of it. We won't ask any follow-up questions. We won't contextualize it in any way for you. And coming up next, snow for the first time in, the Panhandle. But it's also what social media does. It's like you run across a story that's devastating, absolutely devastating. And the next is kind of a funny little story. And your emotions are so zigzagged and collapsing in and, that there's like our reservoir for holding horror has been so depleted. So that's the one part of it. And if it causes people to look up Caligula, I remember joking about one lawmaker who was so gutless, a Republican who's been all over the map, calling out Trump, and then absolutely being the most sycophantic person. And the old joke, it was either a live girl or a dead girl or a live boy. Mm-hmm. And I remember years ago saying, based on how this guy's acting, it's got to be cannibalism. Well, it's like, that is, I can't even joke. That's not even a joke anymore. Like the level of horror that is on the table right now. Yeah. It's really hard to even calibrate a response to it. Yeah. So that sits in one half of my brain. And the other part of my brain is just feeling so amazed at how the rank and file people of America are pushing back. Yes. Like right now, I know there are places where people, very smart political consultants, are saying, don't say abolish ICE. Don't say that. It'll do what defund the police. It makes people think you just want to throw open the borders and live in a lawless country. And I get that. I think that slogans, by and large, aren't the best way to do politics. But I also cannot help but notice the very rapid ascent, when Bill Kristol, of all people, is posting abolish ICE. When Uncle Luke, from Live Crew, is telling us about why he left Mar-a-Lago, because the parties had underage girls and he wasn't down with that. He thought he was being set up. When when Luke Skywalker leaves, from Two Live Crew, goes, your party is too much and is wrong and immoral, and I'm leaving. So anyway, I do think that there's, in the cratering of Trump's numbers, and in the just the growing response of everyday people, you can't help but see people who are like, I've never been to a protest in my life, but I'll die on this hill. They're not snatching up my neighbors. That's the part of it where all of the pain and agony that I was just describing is sort of the balm for that, is to spend time with the people who are organizing at the neighborhood by neighborhood level. So yes, I don't know. Is it? Oh gosh, who was the Adoranti Roy, who says this isn't the sound? This is the sound of a new world being birthed. Like, yeah, it feels like everything's falling apart, but it's really the labor pains of a new world being birthed. Boy, I hope that's right. Yeah, I'm really counting on that. I'm.
It's too specific to not be right, I think.
I with Reverend Jackson's passing away, I did a show on Australian TV, and they had this segment that was 4 years ago, or maybe longer. Maybe it was 2020. It was right after John Lewis had died. And they said, well, you've just eulogized John Lewis. What would you want your eulogy to be? And he said, I would want it to be that I never stop being of service. And I think we get to check that box for him. We get to give that as his eulogy. But more than anything, I think people don't remember fully the power of the words "keep hope alive."
Yeah.
And that it was coined at a time where there was, this is somebody who was standing next to Dr. King on that balcony. This was somebody, who has fought in spaces where there was very little reason for hope. And so I think his legacy really is that we keep hope alive in this moment. So I choose to believe these are the birthing pains of a better world than we've ever encountered. And we are being shaped for that better world right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's on my mind.
Yeah.
That's a lot. There is a lot of really good stuff happening in the rank and file, though, as you said. There's all these ICE concentration camps that people are trying to build, that the communities are banding together to refuse to have ICE buy the properties. That's all happening. There's so many people combing these Epstein files and figuring out workarounds and all this stuff. Yeah. Like it's really something.
Did you see the guy who found or some group of people found Epstein's FedEx account?
No.
Yeah, they found his FedEx account and the password was just unredacted. So they started poking around. And I think it was as recent as 2024. Packages were going to West Palm Beach, which has a very famous address called Mar-a-Lago, whether it was heading there or elsewhere, but they were able to link it to businesses and I think Israeli diplomats. It's people have been really inventive in the ways that they are not waiting for a increasingly toothless media to chew this and feed it to us like birds. They're just getting in there and figuring it out.
Yeah, that is true.
I did the thing. Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, I was going to say, I missed you, Nadine. I adore you.
I miss you too.
I don't want to have a competition here.
No, there's no. It's
you guys.
I miss her too.
Are you headed for a flight? Like, what's happening? Do we
I have. I'm taking the red eye home. So, my brother talked me into getting the purple Delta card, mostly because I think he got 150,000 points if I did it. But I've never been somebody that hangs out in the lounges. The
lounges are great. You have to go to the lounge.
It was it's a whole new world, and so I'm in a soundproof booth. I probably shouldn't give my exact coordinates live.
It's hard to get in. It's hard to get into the lounge. You got to be a real
with the purple card
high roller to get into these places.
Well, that's what I thought. There must be another lounge. I'm in the. Looks pretty open, but no, but it's been nice because I've been able to work out of here and make phone calls and feel very bougie.
That was
the bar. The drinks are free at the bar and the lounges.
I don't know. But the lemonade was.
I don't know. You got to get at the United Lounge. It's free. That's all I'm saying. And if United wants to sponsor the shows, let me know.
Yes. What was the airline recently that had to, the Jet 2, where there was a brawl, like a sustained brawl, and they had to divert? It was a British flight. Anyway, I'm just saying.
Soccer hooligans? What was that?
It was, there's actually a TikTok meme, and I bet somebody in the comments will know, a Jet 2 holiday. It's sort of like the bargain basement,
the Apple vacations of Europe or something.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's really dirt cheap, and you have to bring a folding chair. You don't get you have to just hold on.
I take a folding chair over some of these scenes.
Something like that. But yeah, I just I think it was Stephen King. Oh no, it was. You'll know who this is, where the men are strong.
Lake Wobegon.
Lake Wobegon. So
yeah.
Harrison Keeler.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was talking about how he didn't like the books these days because they or movies these days because, you know, they kill the dog and like everything has to be horror and horrific. And he said, you know, I just believe we live in a world where if you are mean to somebody, like the ripple effect, it was the butterfly effect of how we treat each other. And so nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday. Thank you for coming through, Scandinavian coward. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say. But yes, but I think, or like in It, where this just sort of malevolence, this sort of seeping into the sewers that causes people to, you know, beat their dog and be cruel to each other. And it's it feasting off of all of that sinister energy. And I sort of feels like, yeah, anything can happen now. A huge brawl can break out mid-flight, causing a plane to make emergency landings. And because there's just these toxins rising to the surface. But
I keep waiting for that scene from Ghost at the end where the shadows come up and get and just drag him, you know, off to justice.
I think it's not it. It's actually pronounced IT because the evil's coming from Silicon Valley.
That's right. Boom. Yeah. Boom. Boom. There you go.
Thanks. I'll be here all week.
That's right.
Don't forget to tip your waitress.
All right. On that note, we're going to transition over to Minneapolis and justice, and just two parts. One part, which is just the continuing amazing activism in Minneapolis, the heroism, the drawdown, which apparently is happening. But what does that mean in reality? At the day of the drawdown, there were still people being dragged away by these agents. And, you know, of course, we talked about before how the guy they sent in for the drawdown is the guy who was like, sure, I'll take a brown paper bag of $50K, you know. That's the better guy, the replacement guy, but who's the guy who was actually involved in the family separation policy, and obviously still family separation happening, including 2-month-olds who have been sick, and like just so much awfulness. And I would be remiss if this is not Minneapolis, but I'm just going to pause for a second to say, like, on the cruelty is the point. The story that just broke about Subu Vedam, this Pennsylvania man who spent 43 years in prison for a crime he did not commit and had a deportation order on the basis of the crime he did not commit.
Oh, God.
Him finally being freed after 43 years behind bars as an innocent man who was exonerated, not like theoretically exonerated, but like he did not do it. ICE picks him up and is detaining him. And he's going to have to litigate that deportation order. Like, but that's just one of 1,000.
Oh my God.
One of 1,000. But Minneapolis.
Those people should just, I can't even say on the air what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. But in the face of this sort of cruelty, you have so many people coming up, so many people standing together, so much solidarity, like solidarity on a person to person, bringing you food, bringing your dogs food, making sure that your kids are protected to the extent that they can be. Like, there's just been such an extraordinary, amazing, living testimonial to the good in people, and also a horrifying testimonial to the bad in people, such as this week, this Trump regime saying that they are not going to cooperate with the local authorities in the investigation of the murder of Alex Preddy. So the feds not cooperating, which they haven't been cooperating, wasn't thinking that they would, since depravity is apparently the point. But the official announcement of non-cooperation in that killing, that deliberate, intentional murder of Alex Preddy. And so we have these things happening simultaneously, both amazing good and just shocking depravity. So that's what I wanted to open the conversation on Minneapolis.
That reminds me of Tale of Two Cities. You know, the beginning of Tale of Two Cities is the best of times and the worst of times. But what he's really talking about is that it's a time of extremes, where it's either the very best of something or the very worst or the very ugliest or the very most beautiful or whatever. And I just want to remind everybody that ends with guillotines. So hope. What does it say? Keep hope alive, Nadine.
That's right.
Keep hope alive.
Yes. Well, now we have to figure out who the Madame Lafarge will be of this. Maybe that's Candace Owen. So she's like all over the political map right now.
I mean, it is like you just. I always say that I thought I had a pretty good imagination, but I just did not. I do not have sufficient imagination for the type of stuff that we've seen unfold. It is both fathomable, I suppose, and unfathomable. And then, like you said, I mean, this question of how is the media covering it? The media in Minnesota has been covering it, but it's like the national media has sort of moved on. Oh, Tom Homan said they're going home, so we're on to the next story. Yeah. But they're not all gone, and they already had a substantial force there, and they haven't undone the damage, and they're still operating in Maine. Like there's all these things that are still happening, and the buildings, this unlimited slush fund to buy buildings to incarcerate people who, as we see in whistleblower complaint and attestations over and over, they're not even being fed fruit. Where is the money going? It's just going to pad the pockets of the fat cat, depraved billionaire business runners who are operating these facilities or, buying them or getting the contracts, and not even on beds or the baseline of it. And I'm not saying people should be in those circumstances at all, but like the notion that we're spending that much taxpayer dollar and there isn't an apple in sight and there aren't beds and not blankets, just like the little silver aluminum foil blanket, and there's no medicine and there's no, like, it is both incomprehensible and completely believable given the character of the people who are in charge, or the utter lack of character of the people who are.
It's Nazi shit. They're concentration camps, and they're not, by the way, building them for the people they're rounding up now.
Right.
They're just going to keep rounding people up, and it's just going to expand and expand and expand. And the longer every day that this goes on, it's going to be harder to stop them. That's just how this shit works. So, I wonder if it's going to be a thing like, what show was it? Well, it was in Succession, right? Where he was trying to apply to the good prison that he wanted. That's what it could be for us. We're just going to try to lobby to get into the good concentration camp. I don't know.
No, but I do think like that's happened. This is happening very fast, but there is a growing resistance to it.
Sure. Yeah.
And there are efforts on the Hill, although, we need real people to be doing the pressure because, this business of which way are the wind blowing, and has the abundance pollster come in to tell you not to talk about human rights because apparently you can't walk and chew gum at the same time. You can't talk about, what's really happening. You got to talk about kitchen table issues, notwithstanding the fact that people are being dragged from their kitchen tables. Can't talk about that part because the abundance New York Times type, gurus who are advising members of Congress, like it's all abundance. So of course, which we're not going to talk about until next time, but like Trump's like, yeah, my State of the Union address is about abundance because someone's got abundance. Elon Musk has abundance.
Well,
billionaires have abundance, but the rights. But so I mean, it's terrifying, and also the growing resistance and pressure from the people is also super inspiring.
Well, and we are seeing signs. I think, okay. So keep hope alive. I know we're gonna get back to Reverend Jackson before the show is done, but the exhortation to keep hope alive, it is about understanding that where they want us. They want us always in a perpetual state of trauma and stress and fear and isolation and distrust and all of these things. We know this to be true. And what keep hope alive also means is we will not let you infect us with a cynicism that does your work for you.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes on social media, hey, good news, a judge said this. It'll probably be overturned and they won't listen anyway. And you just go, hey, what are you doing? Like,
yeah. How about we celebrate the victories as they come and deal with whatever the what ifs?
Yeah. What it's sort of like, what is that in service to?
Yeah.
Like, you want to prepare us for disappointment? We live in America. Like, I think we got that handled. And so I just want to, say that sometimes, even if you think to yourself, yeah, but it'll head to the Supreme Court, let us celebrate these victories. Let us build momentum. Let us, gather some purchase. Because it is exhausting, and it is a trauma response, and it doesn't add up to any good thing. If the bad thing happens, we'll deal with the bad thing. But having to deal with the bad thing and deal with the anticipation of the bad thing and never celebrate even, temporary victories, let alone more permanent ones, that is not how you organize. And that's not how you fight back against fascism. So I just want to say, as somebody who can find myself in that place too, it is about the discipline not to indulge yourself in that kind of defeatism and think of it as succor for our opponents.
I like that. Take the W. Take the W.
Yeah, take the win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Take the win. Speaking of which, I am going to post in the link that there is a potential breakthrough for the guy who was in prison for 43 years and was trying to get out of his deportation. So
see, look at us. Look what we manifested. Yes. In just a few moments of positive talk. And
now,
here,
don't put the link now because it's a YouTube link, so don't go there. But
don't go there.
Grab it for later.
Way to sabotage our viewing audience, Lisa. Way to go.
Watch that later.
But in a similar, oh gosh, there was another positive piece of information that was. I know. So DeSantis, who's been sort of home to all of these bad ideas before they rolled them out nationally, the Florida House for the first time has stood up to him and basically rejected his immigration alligator Alcatraz concentration camp slush fund.
Good. That's a big deal.
These no bid contracts, these, paying my buddies 20, 40 times the property value because there's no one to stop me. Finally, a Republican-controlled legislature said, yeah, we think we're not going to let you do that anymore. So even in the belly of the beast that is Florida, we're beginning to see people attempting to distance themselves even a little bit from the odor that is emanating from the MAGA party. Just like was that press conference in the Oval Office where they had to rush everybody out?
Yeah, that was foul.
I know the one. I was thinking that or when that Jenna Ellis got COVID from Rudy Giuliani farting. Also pretty bad.
That was bad.
But I mean, funny but bad. Yeah.
Bad.
Okay. On that note, we're going to switch gears quickly for vandals. Not
on that note.
Not
vandals
of the airspace. But so just two quick things. One is there was a really important ruling by a judge who was appointed by George W. Bush to the district court in Pennsylvania, who ordered that the memorial materials around the first home, the Philadelphia home of George Washington, the first president, the signage that the vandals of the Trump administration had torn down with hammers and nails and crowbars, that was a temporary restraining order was issued to get those panels back up. Her opinion is really worth reading. It's about what happened and also George Orwell and the effort to erase history. And so there's a little victory there in the face of that vandalism, like it just straight up vandalism by the Trump administration. Of course, of stuff we've invested in as the American people in part of the common knowledge and history. And also, speaking of vandals and vandalism, the vandalism of the East Wing by Trump without permission to tear down part of the White House and try to put up this monstrosity of a ballroom that could not possibly be finished in time for the end of his presidency, and subject to these ridiculous gifts of nonprofit tax write-off gifts of
payoffs,
basically, of the people who want to earn his favor. There is a belated but important comment period coming up for people to weigh in. I'm posting the link in the chat. This is the National Trust for Historic Preservation saying, please tell us what you think of this destruction of the East Wing and this ballroom. So the comment period is only open for the next 2 weeks, I think. So, comments are due by, written comments are already by Wednesday, March 4th. Sorry. There was one that it was that was live.
On that ride with you.
For the Arts Commission was due today at 4. Not that one. Not that one. We just missed that deadline. Oh my goodness, that was live and on the air. The National Capital Planning Commission comments are due by March 4th.
Okay.
So, missed one deadline, but there's another.
There's always a deadline.
Yes. Whew. All right. You can't take me anywhere, man. You can't take me anywhere.
Let me say this about the Vandals. There was somebody who did a video and they put it out and they said, right after that happened, and they said, look up Black historic, memorials, monuments, exhibits, museums near you, and go to them now. Go and film them, go and catalog them, go and be physically present at them, because we know of the obvious ones that they've taken down. We know that, and we know of ones that they've taken down overseas because there's still journalism overseas. But there are ones that are disappearing all the time. And let us use this moment of them trying to erase to actually deepen our and I thought about that, and I thought there are exhibits near me that I've just never gone to. I'm aware that they're there. I'll get to them one day. I've been to some of the bigger museums, but I love that kind of response that says, what you don't want us to see, this is about to be the Streisand effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to ensure that what you seek to erase will become more visible because you don't want us to see it. And I think a lot of that is actually happening right now. And it's important that we see these things. I remember being at the Holocaust Museum in St. Petersburg, and one of the exhibits, I mean, obviously there's horrors to observe, but the thing that really chills me was an exhibit that echoed something that I saw at the African American History Museum, the Smithsonian. And one at the Holocaust Museum, it was an invoice, and it was clearly like the second, third, or fourth, obsequious. I'm sorry to trouble you, but the basically was the makers of the ovens asking to be paid, asking,
Wow.
and that everything was functioning as to spec, and we understand you're happy with the result, but we haven't gotten paid yet.
Wow.
Right. Just the banality of evil, right? And then at the African American History Museum, it was a pastor in a correspondence with his wife, and they had etched the letter that he wrote back to her on glass. And basically he's saying, yes, you're right to raise these concerns about how I reconcile my faith and the inhumanity and the brutality. These trouble me deeply as they trouble you. But basically it says, but the money is really just can't walk away from it. And that's, that's the closing argument. And this is the moment that we're in. This is J.D. Vance to Peter Thiel. This is Little Marco. This is all of these guys who were bad, but now are corrupt. And I think about how you corrupt a police department and how you can't have anybody clean around you. You have to get everybody around you a little dirty. And once they're a little dirty, you pull them deeper and deeper. And what we are seeing in the Epstein files is the are the breadcrumbs. People talk about, was it a honeypot? I think it's something more sinister than simply, than that. I think it is. It has made them absolutely. It is a mutually assured destruction pack.
Yeah,
and they're willing to. And once you've given that up, once you've hollowed out your moral core, what does it matter now? Now everything is just spectacle and sensation.
Yeah.
Après-moi le déluge.
Yeah.
That's what Louis XV said, meaning basically, once I don't care, once I die, I don't give a shit. Fuck it.
I mean, I do think that that's the other part of the nihilism, or is it nihilism?
I say nihilism.
I say nihilism, but that's because that's how they say it in Lebowski.
But I feel like it's the same. Like Charles Koch, more money than 99.9999999% of the people in the world, still trying to fight efforts to mitigate climate change, and doesn't care what's happening, what's obviously happening with climate change. And I do think, like, I was never a fan of Rubio. We've talked about that before, but going to Europe and basically embracing the sort of dictator chic stuff and trying to tell Germany, don't worry, don't be ashamed of your past. Are you kidding? Like, what do they have on Rubio that would allow, and I was, again, not a fan, but who in their right mind would give that speech? Who?
Fascists.
Someone completely owned.
That's true. Okay, yeah. that was a rhetorical question.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. If you're going to pitch underhand, I'm just going to snap it out of the park.
Some days I'm on, and some days I'm just. Yeah.
Well, isn't there some exchange between Bannon and Epstein that says there's more money to be made in destroying a country than building it?
Yeah. Well, that's disaster capitalism, right? That's Naomi's.
Yeah. This is the whole, hedge fund. This is all of the takeovers. You strip it for parts. You take healthy companies and you destroy them.
Yeah.
And so it is just the same dynamic turned toward democracy.
Yeah.
That's why we have to take all their assets. We really do. This isn't going to end until we take everything that they have, these people, and right the ship a little bit. It's just so, one of the many, many things frustrating about it is how grotesquely wealthy they all are, all 25 of them, or however many there are. And where people are wanting for very basic things that they should have, that should be, rights and stuff like that. And
and their wealth, it is a what is the thing that says it proves itself?
Yeah.
It is it is evidence that they extract.
Res ipsa loquitur. Yeah. Res ipsa loquitur.
And it it is extraction. It's not earned wealth. It is it is it is plunder. It is extraction. It is exploitation. And and it got normalized to the point that McDonald's and Walmart and all these companies, with your job handbook, included how to apply for benefits, because we're very aware that you can't live off of your full-time salary here. And the normalization of that, that was them, every penny of that was them robbing the public coffers. And that ended up in their pocket instead of them paying people the value of their labor.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And yet we have amazing heroes who have a totally different vision for our world, and spent their whole life's work trying to advance that vision. And I think for visionaries like Reverend Jesse Jackson, they know that some of that dream is not going to come to fruition in their lifetime, that they're part of this important tradition of not giving up, of building hope, and of helping to build the infrastructure, helping to cultivate the movements that will carry us into that better future. So we're going to go to the glass half full, but I feel like I should defer. We have two parts to this. This is a 2-part glass half full.
It is.
Yes. So before I get to but again, because I don't know if I didn't sleep well last night, but I'm just, before we get to the 2-part glass half full, Friday night,
That's
just a completely full glass, right? Yeah.
Tune in. Because we're going to have a 2-part glass half full. And the second part, we're going to play this thing. And then we're just going to go out from there with no further convo. So part 1 of the glass half full, I've got my glass, but I'm going to leave the next part of the comment to Nadine. And then part 2, Greg will take it on, and you will all be with us for both parts.
I think we should explain it one more time. and
then we're out.
I can tell your glass is less than half full at this point.
What? I'm not drinking a single thing besides tea.
All right.
There's no alcohol in there. It's just a long week of a long day of a long.
See, there's your problem.
That's
there you go. Yeah. That's where you went wrong.
All right, Nadine.
Oh, so you want me to do the farewell? I was trying to find something that I will try to pop into the. I'll try and pop into the Facebook chat if I can find it swiftly. But yeah, I've spent a lot of time talking to media about what Jesse Jackson meant to the country, and I have begun my new job at Color of Change, and it has been really very exciting. It's the largest online racial justice organization in the country, and so much of the DNA of this organization is really traced to Reverend Jackson. Even the birth of this organization was in the aftermath of Katrina. He was one of the most outspoken voices critiquing the administration's failure to respond to the Black community. He really invented the playbook for corporate accountability as a civil rights strategy. He was somebody who took the moral authority of the civil rights movement and figured out how you turn that into power. And as has often been said, there would be no Barack Obama had there not been a Jesse Jackson to sort of not just break the seal. Shirley Chisholm had run, but the movement that grew in response to his run, millions upon millions of Black voters just surged as a consequence. Operation Push, Rainbow Coalition. He really was, the original big tent organizer who understood that, all of these struggles around race and immigration and LGBTQ and the economy were all tied together. And so, yeah, there would be no Color of Change without him. I mean, when I say there would be no Barack Obama without Jesse Jackson, it's important to remember that he changed the Democratic Party's delegate rules from winner take all to proportional representation, reshaped who could contend. And so it has been wonderful to be able to share the historical legacy of who he is, who he was, what he meant. But I also like to share one personal story, and I will drop it. Oh, nope, I didn't. I will drop it in the chat, I promise. But there is a picture that I may have shared on in our little circle here. But there's a picture of me and Jesse Jackson, and he's sort of cradling my head against his chest. And the look on my face is sort of, for someone who doesn't know what's just happened, I look slightly amused. But this was at the 93 March on Washington, and he had been the kickoff speaker at the morning stage. And he'd given a tremendous, tremendous speech. And so this is 1993. And from that moment, the crowd begins to swell. I mean, it becomes so much bigger than we imagined it was going to be. There's 1 million people pouring into the National Mall. And at which point, Reverend Jackson says, hey, you know what? I want to speak on the other stage. Like, the kickoff is great, but now at the peak of the audience, I'd like to speak. And nobody wanted to tell him no. Nobody wanted to tell him no. And because I was the co-chair in charge of communications, it was up to me to go up to him. And it's easy to forget that he's not just a big figure in the sense of a big figure in history, but he's also a very large man.
He's tall, yeah.
Yeah, very tall. And so I'm walking toward him thinking, I'm about to tell a hero, no, you can't speak. Because the lineup had been made of up through this very grassroots, very democratic process. And so as I got to him, I had the clipboard and I said, Reverend Jackson, the only way you can speak is if you convince somebody to give up their slot for you and you can swap out with them. And I sort of offer him the clipboard. And he just looks down at me for a few long seconds. And he had one arm in a sling, and suddenly his arm shot out. And in the microsecond, I thought, Jesse Jackson's about to break my sniveling neck for daring. Who am I? And instead, he pulled me into this hug. And what he is saying in that moment is he said, well played. And I felt like I had snatched the pebbles from his hand and I'd been given the nod. So, but that was our first meeting, one of 3 or 4 in my lifetime. And I did not know that picture had been snapped for like 5 years. And then somebody suddenly out of nowhere sent it to me. And
that's great.
So that is my personal remembrance of somebody who could give respect to a young activist trying their best to be in integrity with their grassroots, ethos. And he didn't give me a hard time at all. He gave me the nudge, the nod. So there you have. And so to Reverend Jackson, to keeping hope alive, and to being of service till the very end. Cheers.
Cheers.
Greg.
Oh yeah. Well, Nadine, when is your flight? Because it's it's good.
It's late.
Okay.
It's the red eye.
You're on.
All right. So you've got time. Well, thank you for joining us from LAX, and it's good to see you. And thank you everybody for watching. And I'm going to show this, and then we're going to bail. But just the setup on this is one of my favorite SNL things of all time, which was in 1991, so 2 years before you met him, Nadine, when Dr. Seuss died. And you know what this is. Yeah. And they had him on, whatever. I'll just play it, and we'll leave on this note. So here we go. Let's see. Bye, everybody. Where are you? Here we go.
Known to his loyal readers as Dr. Seuss died this week at the age of 87. Like many of us, I grew up with Dr. Seuss, and one of my favorites.
I do not like them, Sam.